after Mumbai Indians, the next team that I want to analyze is Chennai Super Kings. As I said while doing the analysis of Mumbai Indians, the reason why I want to do Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings in the beginning is because it's like looking into the exam scripts of the best students in the class. So thought goes into it. And for normal average people like me, it's difficult for me to understand why they do things the way they do, but ultimately they win. So they obviously are seeing something that mortals like me can't. So let's look at Chennai Super Kings and their performance at this IPL 2022 auctions. So as all of us know that Chennai Super Kings has a style of its own. It is a mature man's team, let's put it that way. And Dhoni likes people he's comfortable with. He likes to play with people he's comfortable with, who he trusts, has faith in. He doesn't go by big names. He doesn't go by the flavor of the season. He doesn't go by the hype. He's pretty okay with letting people pass, who other franchises would bid the sky for. So he wants people who he has trust in, who can execute on his plans, and who play for the team, who are not playing for themselves. And you could see this time with the biggest shock with Chennai Super Kings was them not bidding for Raina, even though he was available at his base price. And this is important because the kind of team that Chennai Super Kings is, by the way, they bid up for somebody like Bravo, but not for Raina. Raina has been part of their team from day one. He is part of the brand. And for a team like Chennai Super Kings, for Bangalore, I totally understand. They have a very different philosophy. They like to use and then they like to throw. But Chennai Super Kings isn't like that. It's a place for keeps. And for them not to bid for Raina, I think it was not so much. And people will say Raina had a terrible season last year. But whatever it is, I don't think that's the reason why he was not bid for. I think he got his blow to the chest moment. And for those of you who remember, this was exact words used by Badrinath when he was let go by Chennai Super Kings. But again, I think this was a message that Dhoni and the franchise sent out to Raina was that no one is above the team. Even somebody like Raina, who has done so much for the franchise and is right after Dhoni, the person who's most associated with the franchise, that they would not retain him. They would rather prefer to spend, I think, the same amount of money on Robin Uthappa, but not on Raina. I would still think that Raina is a better player, even at the twilight of his career, than Robin Uthappa. He always has been in T20s. And the record that Raina has in IPL is second to none. Again, one can't keep on expecting to be selected based on their past record. This is obviously not the Raina that dominated in 2012 and 2013. That goes without saying. But still, for Dhoni not to bid for Raina, not even his base price, not even when he came back, that says something. That says something about the captaincy style of Dhoni. And I think this happened for all of you who follow IPL, was when the IPL shifted to UAE. Dhoni basically joined the team and he was committed to joining the team, and he came back. And there were several speculations as to what happened, but the owner of the franchise went on record essentially being kind of showing that he was not happy with what Raina did, Srinivasan. And it was very, Chennai Super Kings is a very professional outfit. They normally don't have public meltdowns. This was perhaps the only time that they kind of came close to a public meltdown. It was very instructive for me. I was not expecting it. I was expecting that they would buy back Raina. So the retained players were Ruturaj Gaikwad, who's been an outstanding performer for them in the last 2 seasons. Ravindra Jadeja, who's like the new captain, and after Dhoni is definitely, now that Raina is definitely not part of the franchise, is going to take forward the brand of the team. Then there is Dhoni, of course, and then there is Moeen Ali. So if we look at the 11, the most likely 11, it's obviously Ruturaj Gaikwad is going to be the opener and the leading linchpin of their batting. He's been brilliant the last few IPL seasons. And that century he scored against Rajasthan Royals was just a sight to behold. Now, first, straight off the bat, there is a problem because, you had Ruturaj and you had Faf du Plessis, who batted very well together. And again, I was surprised to see Chennai Super Kings not going. Again, they retained their full 4 players, so they didn't have as much cash, just like Mumbai Indians didn't have their full purse, had a lot of their purse taken away, and just like Kolkata Knight Riders had a lot of their purse taken away. So it was obvious that they couldn't go for broke for any player, but still, I was expecting that perhaps they would go a little bit more for Faf, but then I realized that maybe they feel that Faf's best times are also over and they don't want to overspend for Faf du Plessis. But then he replaced by Devon Conway. And this is, again, an interesting pick, but not something that I immediately understand. But it's going to be Ruturaj and Devon Conway opening. This, again, is something that Chennai thinks that there is a lot in Devon Conway. Again, we haven't seen him in IPL. Then after that, one slot down, it's going to be Moeen Ali, who's been a revelation against Chennai Super Kings. And it brings me to a point that I made in my Mumbai Indians analysis, is that this is where great management comes in. It's not just a question of players. It's not just a question of intrinsic ability of players. It's also the team, the roles they're assigned, and in general, the context that you put them in, which enables people to play to their best. Moeen Ali in Bangalore was, as kind of side presence. He played in some games, but once he went to Chennai Super Kings, his entire career looked up. He was basically gone, even internationally. And then he had suddenly a renaissance in his career, not just in Chennai Super Kings, but also in England. So Moeen Ali definitely comes in at 1 down. Very good person to have coming in at 1 down, I think. Then the next, I think it's a choice between Uthappa and Rayudu. I think it's going to be Ambati Rayudu, but if he loses form, it could be Robin Uthappa at that slot. Then you have Dhoni. Nobody knows which batting position Dhoni would come to bat in, but let me just put him there. Then you would have Dubey. Then you have Jadeja. Then you have a foreign slot. It would possibly be Bravo or Pretorius doing Pretorius. I don't think Bravo will be able to play the full tournament, but I'm pretty sure that if he's fit, Dhoni will prefer him to do death bowling. Then there will be Deepak Chahar, who's again had recently, and as a genuine all-rounder, he's trying to come up. Still, he's very much a bowling all-rounder. And then you have an overseas bowler, either going to be Adam Milne or Thikshana or Jordan. And then there is another big blank, just like there's a number 4. Remember, in Mumbai Indians, there's a blank there, there's a blank here, there's an Indian seamer, which is, I don't see who it's going to be. It's obviously going to be an uncapped player, but that's, again, one of the problems that with Chennai Super Kings is that they lost Shardul Thakur, and who's going to replace Shardul Thakur in that? And again, the main thing about Chennai Super Kings is its solidity. It's the fact that they don't like to change much. It's the Margdarshak Mandali of the cricketing world. And so positives, they've played together. This is, again, a very much Dhoni team. It is a team which most of us, every time we say it's old, seriously, they can't play another season with this team, but they do, and they win. And I say this as a KKR fan who got absolutely blasted last year in the finals. So they play well together. Mahendra Singh Dhoni is a genius. He actually doesn't perform at all with the bat, and he just performed. I think he's still worth his place in the team purely because of 2 reasons: his captaincy and his ability to take third umpire calls, which is unique. I wouldn't say that possibly for any other player in the world, but he manages to do it. That's the genius of Dhoni. And you think that you can start making memes out of him, and then he comes in and wins the IPL and just throws it in your face. And again, you would see in this entire selection process the invisible presence of Dhoni, because one, Dhoni loves loyalty, and you saw that what happened with Raina. And secondly, is Dhoni loves these multi-utility players. He loves multi-utility players, and this entire CSK lineup, starting from Devon Conway, is full of multi-utility players. So there's very much him, and there's one thing that Dhoni doesn't like, is Dhoni doesn't like very huge superstar players who put themselves in front of the team. I mean, players like Gale or Maxwell, I don't think he likes them, and he does not want them in his side. So again, you don't find any of those kinds of players in this side at all. These are all, people who come in, follow a plan, execute, get the job done, go home. That's the kind of players that Dhoni likes to work with. And that's what's brought Chennai Super Kings its super success. So what's the negative of this team? Again, whenever you look at Chennai Super Kings, the negative of the team is always it's insanely old. Now, keeping that to the side, I think that, that there is now a focus to the future. I mean, obviously, Ruturaj, there's a plan. You can see the succession plan here. It's Ravindra Jadeja, then it's going to be Ruturaj. And you can see that very well. But the only problem is, there is still that Uthappa, Rayudu. I mean, there's still a lot of old players in the side. There's still Dwayne Bravo. So, but you can see that, they're moving, but this was a big deal. And they didn't, I think they should have gone a little bit more for young players. But again, what do I know? Dhoni knows best. I think it's missing one Indian seamer. I think that's going to be a major problem for them. And I think that it is, again, there are some good multi-utility players that they have picked up. I think Tikshana is it's obviously a, mystery kind of a bowler. I think KKR tried to get him because I think KKR likes mystery bowlers too. I think that Pretorius is also a very good pick. I think it was a smart buy. I think there's quite a bit to that person. I've seen him play in some of the leagues. He's quite good. And of course, they have Deepak Chahar. Deepak Chahar is evolving as a player. He's not the player that we saw 2 or 3 years ago when he first played. He's a player who's definitely improved in every aspect of the game. And I think it's going to be very good for him to be able to work under the umbrella of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I mean, this is, again, one franchise and one captain who brings out the best in players who I think wouldn't have been such bigger success in other franchises, which often don't know how to deal with the talent they have. So overall, my assessment of Chennai Super Kings is going to be exactly the same as my assessment of Mumbai Indians. It's 7 out of 10 +1 for Dhoni, the familiarity, and the Chennai Super Kings brand. They don't do things wrong. So we've done Mumbai Indians, we've done Chennai Super Kings. Guess which team is coming up?